Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Flexing Joe and I'm back with another trade recap and review, and tonight we're going to be talking about Tesla. So before I cover this Tesla call options trade, I need to make sure everybody understands that this is not financial advice and I'm just simply telling you a story of what I did, and you should not misconstrue this as financial advice or advice for what you should do next time. You know, past results do not dictate future results, all that type of thing. You have to take your own trades and take your own risk. Don't do what I'm doing. Don't do what I did. Okay? So now that that's out of the way, I just want to say that I took the November 29th expiry $240 call options on Tesla a couple days prior to earnings, right? So I knew doing this that I was potentially risking, 80 to 90% of those options value should Tesla make another move down. But I felt very strongly that we were not going to make another move down, and I'll explain why. So this is where the year opened, right? And throughout the first part of the year, the first quarter, really third of the year, Tesla made a move down. From that move down at 138 and nearly doubled, going to 271. So on that big move up, right? When we came back down, we held a higher low here in the golden zone. And from there, from that golden zone, it pushed out, then maintained the 50 along with the daily 200 EMA, and then pushed up. But it did not break a new high. So when it did not break a new high, we have to see where this is going to go. And I wanted to see if it was going to hold a higher low, especially near the daily 200 again. Seeing this last interaction, boom, then we have another interaction there. Also drew a fib from this low to this high, and I saw that we were consolidating within the golden zone, which is typically bullish, right? Especially if there's bullish accumulation. Now we zoom in further, you see that following this gap down of the cyber taxi and all that jazz, that sort of sell the news event, right? You see they were holding this higher low in here in the golden zone, right off of the daily 200 EMA and right by the banana stocks 325 SMA. Now, if you look at the chart, right, and there's the daily 50 EMA on here, you can see that these EMAs have been disregarded many times. However, in this instance, I felt like there was more reason to trust the whole setup because all of these confluences were sort of coming together, right? You had the increased volume showing that the buyers were stopping price action right here. You had the sideways consolidation. Then you have what looks like the Wyckoff spring down and then move up. You have the fib, you have the SMA, the 325, the 200 daily. All of these are big for institutions and for long-term investors. So all of this just seemed to come together, and I thought, hey, this is worth the risk, right? So entering those contracts at a price of 6.75, I knew that the risk, let's just say, was 600 per contract to make a nice even number, and the first scale outs here were around 18. So, and that was just shortly after the open because I didn't know how high up we were going to go. We already had gapped up over the strike. And I really probably, this is where I made a big mistake, is I should have considered that there was so much more time that we were likely to continue going, and I should have given a little bit. But immediately after the open, I wanted to de-risk and lock in profit because, again, I knew that this was extremely risky, and so it worked. I might as well, take my money off the table, right? And going from 6.75 to 18, right? Those, contracts were just shy of 200%, so nearly doubled my risk, right? 2 to 1. So I wanted to take some profit and lock it in. And now I'm down to only one contract. And this one contract is sitting around 36 bucks and some change with a lot of time. Because again, I took the November 29th strike. So we'd be all the way here. So plenty of time. Now at this point, what I see from the Tesla on the daily chart is that we look poised to break 271, which puts us at a new high for this year. And then we have to look back at, some earlier pivots and where we might potentially break higher. I do want to call out too, if I look at the daily chart, there is a gap down that occurred right here. This was on a Goldman Sachs downgrade, and you can see this gap wasn't quite filled. I know people do their gaps differently, but hey, it's my channel, so I'm gonna do it my way. And this gap isn't filled, so I'll be looking for them to break over 274, and then of course over this pivot high here at 279. So then one thing we have here too is another unfilled gap here up to 291. So you can see here on July 19th, 2023, we did have a sizable gap down, and then it continued to flush, and that was following earnings, right? So this will be a key area of resistance as well, but I did just want to call that out. If we continue to look over at the other time frames, here's the weekly chart, right? You can see we have a long ways to go until we are close to the all-time highs. But you know, the weekly extremely strong, extremely bullish candle here, right? This was another thing too. I would like to point out the weekly candle setup. Strong move into the EMAs, doji indecision. A lot of times when you see this sort of little tight body doji candle, it will reverse and push back up, which is another thing that added to my confluence for taking the contracts long. You see the monthly candle, bullish, hopefully closes green, and hopefully we'll break over that 271 pivot and close above that. That would be a really good sign for the bulls for the long term. You know, again, here's monthly. Sorry, this is quarterly. Again, looking pretty good. You can see that every time that on the quarterly, these were all good buy spots inside of this 34 EMA. And then of course, the yearly chart. And so just to give everybody a better look, right, the yearly chart does have some potential to close back above last year's high. All it would need to do would be to get over 299. So basically hit and close over 300, and Tesla will have a very bullish move going into 2025. But even maintaining somewhere in this area would still be pretty strong. I'm sure that most of the long-term investors are happy. Thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next recap.